Good evening, Lake Orion. Well, welcome to this great episode of BT. I'm your host, and I am Between Taorminas. Yes, indeed. This is Between Taorminas here on ONTV. I'm your host, Anthony Taormina. Sammy, how you doing today?
I'm hanging in there.
For those of you guys who don't know, Ian Weatherspoon is, again, not in town. He is actually attending the Detroit Tigers game against the Toronto Blue Jays. Most likely he's rooting for the Blue Jays.
Yes.
So that's why Ian's not going to be here.
Yes.
Yep, so let's talk about something that is very, that made big-time news this weekend. The great Muhammad Ali passed away this week at the age of 74.
Yep.
From septic shock.
Mm-hmm.
So, what's your take on Muhammad Ali before I share my views?
He lived a good life. I mean, like, I didn't know that he had Parkinson's, you know what I mean? Like, battled with that. But you look at what he did as a boxer, what he was, he was he gave the sports world hope, and also that, and you could tell, you know what I mean, and he always believed his faith, you know what I mean? He always believed.
He was a Muslim.
He was a Muslim.
He was against the Vietnam War.
Right.
He also, if you remember, he negotiated to release the American hostages in Iraq.
Mm-hmm.
He made a passionate plea to release the journalist held in Iran.
Mm-hmm.
He's widely respected in the Muslim world.
Yes, he is.
He's widely respected in the Muslim world.
Mm-hmm.
Also, he is African American.
Right.
In many ways, and as an African American and a Muslim, he was able to inspire so many. He was a champion of champions. He became an icon to all races, all color.
Everybody
looked up to him.
About how he did with Joe Frazier, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But he was a boxer at first. You know what I mean? He was very successful in the boxing ring.
Mm-hmm.
He was very successful. If he was a politician, I think he would have been successful. You know what I mean?
He actually, in a sense, became a politician. In a sense, he went against the Vietnam War.
Right.
As he refused to enter the draft, and as a result, he was stripped of the heavyweight championship for 3 years. Eventually, the Supreme Court overturned it.
Mm-hmm.
But do you think that kind of defined Ali as kind of as somebody willing to stand up for what he believes in?
He stands up. He's willing to believe in basically with what is going on. Of course, he's always honest, always humble. And that's a good thing in life, when you have those type of icons who are humble, who are, like what Muhammad Ali did, of course, of what he stood for, of course, what people viewed him as. I mean, end of the day, you look at what Muhammad Ali's done, you know what I mean? He created a positive influence with the with a lot of people.
He was in so many books. He was in so many, you saw in comic books he was dueling Batman. He became a cultural icon.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that, in the word icon, do you think that describes Muhammad Ali?
I think it does. I think it does in a sense, but when you look at cultural icons, you got to look at. I'm a little surprised a lot of people use Muhammad Ali going up against Batman or going up against Superman. Remember, Batman and Superman are fictional characters.
Right.
Whereas, you look at Muhammad Ali, he was a He wasn't
just boxing.
He was a real person. He wasn't boxing, but a lot of people know him for that in the sports world.
it was not just boxing. I mean, he was in professional wrestling.
Right.
He
was an
influenced
official.
MMA.
Right.
He
fought Lamonsu in
Yeah.
the WWF.
Yeah,
At the time.
WWF at the time, yes. And then he was at the first WrestleMania. I mean, you look at Muhammad Ali and his legacy. Do you think his legacy will never be forgotten? It'll never be.
It will never be forgotten. I mean, you know, in the boxing circumstances, in the wrestling circumstances, you know, and also with what he's done as a political wise, you know, he's really gave this country what they wanted, and basically it was a figure.
He was controversial too, because you got to remember he was against the Vietnam War.
Right.
Also, he wasn't afraid. He wasn't afraid to say that he wasn't afraid to say that he was against the Vietnam War, because he was, and you know, he also wasn't afraid to stand up for, you know, in a very difficult time in the 60s and 70s, obviously the civil rights era. He was very instrumental in representing African American values, also Muslim values, and and you have to respect him for that, because in many ways a lot of African American athletes look up to Muhammad Ali.
Put Muhammad Ali and Dr. Martin Luther King in the same boat, because here's why. Because, you know, Martin Luther King, of course, we know what he did in the Civil Rights Act. And then, of course, you got to put Muhammad Ali in that same influence because of what he did, what he inspires today. You know, I kind of wish there were several schools that should be named after Muhammad Ali. I mean, like, I think that should be the next step, you know, where you have Martin Luther King high schools. There's a lot of those going around. Muhammad Ali should have at least a couple high schools named in his honor.
They're going to be celebrating his life on Friday. Well, Thursday they're going to have a private mass. Friday they're going to celebrate his life with the public, and it's just like he wanted.
Yes, exactly what he wanted. He wanted to be with the public. He was the greatest, and you know, a lot of people use his catchphrase, "I am the greatest." He was the greatest.
The greatest of all time. He certainly was a champ. He was a champ, not just in the boxing world, not just in the sports world, but in life. Not just in the political world, but in life. And I think those are the things you're going to remember with Muhammad Ali. You know, yes, he did beat some of the best, George Foreman, Smoking Joe Frazier. You know, what he represents. Right. He became an ambassador for the United States. Right. Following the decisions of Vietnam and the Supreme Court decision. You know, I mean, you look at Muhammad Ali define being the champ.
He was perfect. He was the perfect ambassador. Perfect for this country, especially when it comes
in his later years. He taught people about Parkinson's and encouraged them to live.
Right, and you know, knowing about African American and Muslim heritage. You know what I mean? I think it makes a lot of sense for him to be that way.
All right. So, any final thoughts about Muhammad Ali?
Great guy. We'll be inspired for a long time.
All right. We will be right back with Between Taorminas here on ONTV.
When I'm in Lake Orion and I want to catch up on sports, I watch Between Taorminas.
Hello, I'm Oakland County Sheriff Mike Bouchard.
And I'm former Detroit Red Wing Joe Koser.
We'd like to remind you to practice safe boating by knowing the laws regarding water safety.
Please make sure you have the necessary safety equipment on board and be sure all of your equipment is working properly before leaving the dock.
And the probability of being involved in a boating accident nearly doubles when alcohol is involved. Always check local weather conditions, and if you notice darkening clouds, play it safe. Get off the water. Have a safe, enjoyable summer on the lake.
Welcome back to Between Taorminas here on ONTV. Sammy, how you doing?
Hanging in there.
So let's talk about the Tigers. The Tigers actually swept the Chicago White Sox. You have to be extremely proud of the Tigers for sweeping the White Sox.
Of course not.
Why?
Because here's why. They're still in trouble because, one, they're not consistent pitching-wise.
What?
They had to fix Anibal Sanchez. Their
Okay.
bullpen is not the greatest besides Francisco Rodriguez. I mean, this team, the reason why they're 28-28 right now is because they're a fluke 28-28. Because
You're right. They should have a winning record.
no, they should not have a winning record. They
Why?
should be they're losing. They're overrated. They spent
What?
$200 million. They made some bad moves. They should have got Big Game James instead.
in Chicago.
Instead, he goes to Chicago. I mean, they need somebody there to help with that rotation, and then they don't get that. And then here's why.
How can you say they're in trouble and they're in panic mode and they're in trouble if they're only I think 3 games back?
3.5.
3.5 back of the Cleveland Indians for the AL Central.
And I think the Cleveland Indians.
That's a competitive division. You got the Cleveland Indians, you got the Kansas City Royals, you got the Chicago White Sox. Are they ahead of the White Sox right now?
No, they're only half a game back.
Oh, jeez.
But here's why I'm saying Chicago's going to be the team. You know, Chicago will make some noise. Kansas City, we know, is going to make some noise. And where's the Detroit Tigers going to be? Stale.
Noticing you're not mentioning Cleveland.
And, of course, the Cleveland Indians, of course, let's not forget them. They're a good ball club, too. You know, the Detroit Tigers are going to finish 4th in this division. And they will not make the playoffs. Because Cleveland's better. Cleveland swept the Tigers twice
Yeah, I know.
already. One at Comerica Park. Of course, you have Chicago. Once they get Big Game James in the rotation, you put them with Chris Sale and Jose Quintana. And then of course, you have the Cleveland Indians with Danny Salazar.
You're talking
pitching.
about Kansas City?
And then let's not forget our Kansas City Royals. Of course,
Our Kansas City Royals?
Ian's
I don't
Kansas
think
City
so.
Royals. Because here's why.
Okay, Ian's Kansas City Royals.
Yes, Ian's Kansas City Royals. Because here's why. Kansas City, they have a lot of injuries. But Salvador Perez is back. You see Kansas City's going to make a run. They have a better bullpen than the Tigers. And Ian knows this deep down, even though he denies everything about how proud the Detroit Tigers are and like how good that they're going to take over this division. Miguel Cabrera's not healthy, but let's look at this from this perspective. The Kansas City Royals will pull away in this division. Cleveland will be right there. So will Chicago. Detroit Tigers, done, finished.
Wow. What would Ian Weatherspoon say if he was on this show?
He'd be so happy right now and excited.
You think so?
Of course. Of course, he'd be excited.
I just don't know what to say. Bottom line is this. You've got the Tigers who are going to be I think the Tigers, they have to keep winning series, and they got a big one this week with Toronto.
Yeah, they won't win that series.
You don't think so? Why?
Because they got Jose Bautista in that lineup, and then of course Toronto's a hard-hitting team. Even though they don't have the true pitching that they've had from years past, I think Toronto, and you cannot trust this Tigers rotation. You cannot, because I mean, besides Verlander and Zimmerman, who else can you trust? You can't trust Anibal Sanchez, obviously. You cannot trust. Well, Michael Fulmer, you can start trusting a
Fulmer's
little
been
bit,
producing.
but you cannot trust who their 4 and their 5 guys. You cannot trust Boyd. You cannot trust Danny Norris when he comes up. You cannot trust Anibal Sanchez when he gets his act together. This is a team that is a disaster waiting to happen unless they make a move. And at the end of the day, this team will not make that move, and they will stay put, and it's going to be a long year for the Detroit Tigers.
So you're still thinking Osmus?
Osmith will get fired.
Oh my goodness gracious!
Mm-hmm.
So you have absolutely no hope for the Tigers.
None.
You have none.
None. And I know deep down Joe Johnson has no faith for the Tigers.
You think so?
Yep.
What about what about Ian?
Ian definitely's got no faith in him. That's why Ian looks better in the Kansas City outfit. Because here's why. Ian Weatherspoon looks perfect in a Kansas City outfit, meeting the Kansas City Royals mascot, meeting his best friend Mike Moustakas. You know, if we can if we could ship him to Oakland, he can meet his best friend Coco Crisp.
So you definitely want Ian to meet Coco Crisp.
Of course, he's a great guy, and I wanted Hawk Harrelson to come on BT so bad, but
But the Tigers swept the White Sox, so
Yeah.
thank goodness.
I'm crying about
Why
that.
are you crying? That's actually a good thing.
Because I feel bad for Hawk Harrelson.
Oh
he
my
would've
gosh.
he would have been a perfect guy.
No.
Sitting between Taorminas. Hawk Harrelson would be perfect.
Hawk Harrelson
Of course,
between
it's
Taorminas.
like of course, it's like in hockey. Of course, we all know that Bill Reese and Bob Bridges will be bowing down for the Dallas Stars.
That's another topic for another time.
Yes, it is.
So any final thoughts on the Tigers before you get booed right out of the building?
You look
again.
you look at the Detroit Tigers. Miguel Cabrera's not healthy. You got, Victor Martinez. Yeah, they're streaking right now. They're streaking. But wait until they go on a slump. Then bad things are going to happen, and they're going to
But then they already went on slump?
Yeah, but they haven't gotten another one. And then the losing will keep on rolling.
I don't know about that, ladies and gentlemen. I'm baffled by Sammy's love for...
And the city of Cleveland will finally get a division championship.
Their basketball team is losing in the final right now. It doesn't make me look good. So I predicted the Cavs to win the series.
They'll bounce back. Cleveland will bounce back. The city of Cleveland, they're tough fighters. And Ian Weatherspoon, if I could just ship him to Lake Erie, I think it would be a great thing for him.
So you want to ship Ian Weatherspoon to Cleveland?
Of course. You know me.
All right,
you see that toilet? It's going to take it down to Lake Erie to meet, and then Lake Erie goes to Cleveland, Ohio. That's a good thing.
We'll be right back.
Hello, Oakland County. This is Sammy Taormina talking OA Now. In it, we'll talk various stories ranging from the state to Oakland County teams affecting the OAA. Catch us here on OA Now.
Hello, Lake Orion. It's Anthony Taormina, co-host of Between Taorminas. I want to let you know of a new show called History Now. In it, we're going to talk about global, national, and political events that occur in our lifetime. We're going to also have guests and also have co-hosts as well, and also plenty of surprises. Catch us on History Now here on ONTV. Welcome back to Between Taorminas here on ONTV. Sammy.
Ian Weatherspoon's hashtag, Be Royal.
Ian Weatherspoon got a new hashtag, ladies and gentlemen. So I would encourage you to follow him on his Twitter website, @Ian Weatherspoon.
And also use the hashtag Be Royal, because that would make Ian Weatherspoon an official Kansas City Royals fan.
So you really think Ian's a Kansas City Royals fan?
Yes, he is.
You really?
And he's also a Chicago White Sox fan, and also he's a Cleveland Indians fan. We all know he's got a deep love for the city of Cleveland.
I don't know. I don't know what you're thinking. I don't know what your mindset is.
I know what Ian's thinking.
What do you think he's thinking?
He's thinking, I want to go to the city of Cleveland.
You think he wants to go to the city of Cleveland?
Yep.
Didn't he survive the Lions? There's your answer. There's your answer. The answer. No, he does not want to go to the city of Cleveland. Also, I don't think Ian would be appreciative of what you're saying about him on air.
Ian needs to bow down to the city of Cleveland, to the city of Chicago, and to the city especially Kansas City, Missouri. You watch it!
Yeah, I mean, that sounds just about right. Bottom line is this. Ian would not want to see you ruin his good name.
Ian Weatherspoon's good name is going to be good in the city of Cleveland because everybody wants to kill him in Cleveland.
I never understand why he gets top billing on our show. Hey, to everyone on TV, I don't understand why Ian gets top billing at the end credits. There needs to be, I got to get my name on the top credits. Really, I do. I'm not being mean. I would consider it on TV. Thank you. Thank you. Please do it in the future on TV. Thank you.
And then, of course, we got
all right, let's talk about Lake Orion sports. It's about the spring season's is wearing down. You've got softball won the district championship.
Yeah,
they're in the regionals.
They're still playing.
Lake Orion has had a very successful spring season, particularly with some lacrosse and baseball. Both boys and girls lacrosse doing well and
had great seasons.
What sport kind of defined this season in spring?
You know, I look at lacrosse, boys lacrosse, especially with the way this was a good opportunity for Coach Brad Thomas to look at this team. You know, Lake Orion lacrosse has not had a lot of success in the past, but to have this type of success this year, leading to the number 2 seed. You know,
They
in the
beat
regional,
Birmingham.
Beat Birmingham.
They beat Bloomfield. They beat Clarkston. Beat Troy. Those are they beat some pretty good teams.
They beat some good teams.
Some of those on the road.
They beat some really good teams.
They beat Athens. They beat.
But you know,
really
when you look at this program, I think that now there's a gold standard, and I'm hoping that this program keeps going up. Girls lacrosse had a surprising good season. They went to the regional final where they lost to a very good Heartland team. Surprised how they destroyed Clarkson the way they did. But like I said, lacrosse, same position as the boys. They gotta go up. You know what I mean? There's nowhere to go but
They're
up.
both in the red. They're both in the red division. They both moved into the red division, the toughest division, one of the tougher divisions.
Boys won it.
The boys ended up winning the division. The girls were very competitive in lacrosse. So, but also you look at both their programs. The boys and the girls lacrosse programs are very, very solid. You see the future being bright for lacrosse?
I think it is, but we'll see what happens with both of them. You know what I mean? I think it is, but we'll see what happens.
Also, one topic we didn't talk about much was track. Boys track, girls track.
You know, when I look at track and field, of course, the girls had a really successful season.
They did.
You know, the emergence of Taylor Eaton and the discus. The Eaton family, of course, Madison and Taylor both doing very well. I think the girls
as a whole,
the whole team, especially when what we have in the middle school program coming up, and the middle school program coming up in the next 2 years, that I think Lake Orion girls track is in a really, really good position right now with what they have coming. And then you look at the boys' situation, of course. You know, there were some that the injury bug bothered them a lot. I think the injury to Laurent was huge, and then also the injury to Sheldon Drake was also difficult to overcome. But you know, they had a good season with the way they had. You know, a league championship is always hard to get, but it's a heck of an accomplishment. You know what I mean, for that team. You know,
the boys also finished second at regionals. The girls were in the third in the regional competitive field.
But you know, when I look at track and field, I think the girls right now, I'm not being mean to Coach Ford, you know, to Coach Dan Ford, but I think girls led by Dave Hudson right now are in a much better position, especially what they got in the younger levels.
Well, but I mean, the kids contribute consistently. The boys have been consistent. The boys have been extremely consistent, winning league championships, performing well in running events and in
you know,
in
Lake
the
Orion.
fields.
A lot of people call Lake Orion.
You
know, a lot of people Lake Orion calls a lot of people call Lake Orion a football school. I think it's a cross country school because the way that they do very well.
It can be both.
It can be both, but at the end of the day,
you know that old saying for Coach Ford: kids work harder for coaches they love, and kids love Coach Ford. And he's done a fantastic job with both the cross country program and the track program at the boys level. Just like in the girls, you got Coach Hudson and also Coach McDonald, who have done extremely well in the girls part of the program. And also you got
Coach Keith.
You got Coach Keith, who's done very well in the track program. Also Scripps coach in the cross country. You've got Coach Roberts with the throws. You've got Coach Crowther with sprints.
Right.
I mean, you look at Lake Orion track, that future is bright.
It's bright, but like I said, you know what I mean? We'll see what happens.
Baseball this year.
They couldn't hit. They could not hit.
I mean,
they could not hit because, like,
are you sure there were some games that
there were some games they hit well? And then there were games. I thought Anthony Ryder had a really good game against Orion for Clarkson in that district semis. But end of the day, you got to come out and produce results, and Orion did not in that district semi
against Clarkson.
Well,
I mean, it felt like it was an up and down year for Lake Orion baseball. It was, especially early on, you know, going in and, you know, getting swept by Adams, but they did bounce back quite nicely. They did beat they did sweep Oxford. They won series against Rochester and against Rochester and Stony Creek, respectively. it wasn't bad of a season.
No,
it's just
no.
it was
But like I said, end of the day,
the playoffs.
You got to win series, you got to win in districts, and and it didn't happen this year for him, and it was tough for Coach Andy Schrammick this year. But you've got to win series if you want to be very, very good. Tennis had a nice, all right year.
Tennis
they had
had a good year.
They had an up and down season as well. So I would put baseball and tennis in the same sentence. But we got
girls
softball.
soccer. Girls soccer first. It was not exactly the greatest of seasons for girls soccer, but
I think they
were
played
very,
their best
very young.
game against Waterford Mott. I really think they played. That went down to
A lot of the games in girls soccer
Right.
were 1 point
They
games.
went down the
they went
penalty
to penalty
kicks.
kicks.
But end of
you
the
got to
day,
give Lake Orion
end of the day, you
that
just got to give that team. They battled.
They were young too. They
They're young.
return a lot next year.
They do. Yeah, they do. And then softball.
Then softball. Softball's had a very special year, number 6 in the state.
The interesting thing about them is their hitting. Can their hitting last? Because, they didn't do well against Clarkston late. They struggled against Oxford late.
Well, they did beat Clarkston.
They did beat both those teams, but end of the day, you got to bring both balance. You got to balance everything out, especially when you have a winnable regional like this coming up.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the realization of having to play Farmington Hills Mercy in the next round if you get there.
Mm-hmm. But, softball's had a great season this year, too, because, they
look at
beat
Sierra-
some really good teams.
When you look at Sierra Gonzalez, the way I said this before the season, I said Lake Orion would be more balanced than Clarkson. And I said this in my podcast. And it came to fruition. I thought Lake Orion was a better team than Oxford, despite that Oxford's very young. But when you look at this team, Tessa News, I think, has been a huge surprise. Cassie Carson starting to emerge as a big top-tier hitter. Shelby Mishak starting to play, starting to get it a little bit. She's been hitting a lot of long balls.
She's a good pitcher, too.
Yeah, and then, of course, you have Sierra Gonzalez, who's starting pitcher. I really like the Peyton Shaddai at third base. I think she's going to be a huge addition for years to come. But when you look at this team, this is a very young team that they have. And I'm not saying, and I'm not mentioning Jamie Bell here. But at the end of the day, you look at this team. I think softball's got a chance to do some damage. They got Groves on Saturday morning.
Right.
If they can win that, then you have
either Romeo
or Troy Athens. And I think it's going to be Romeo. And it'll be an interesting game because Romeo last season, a couple of years ago, knocked Orion out of the playoffs.
Right. So do you want to think Orion will want to get back at them?
I think Orion wins this regional. They go on to play Mercy. I think Orion can beat Mercy.
I do, too. I really do. Any final thoughts about Lake Orion sports or the spring sports?
Stay tuned to my podcast, and I'll give you more information on that.
Also, in closing, do you think the OA will, with the decision of those?
Oh, we got to give a shout out to Lake Orion Athletics finishing third in the USA Today.
You're right. We do got to give a special shout out to Lake Orion Athletics for finishing third in a nationwide poll by USA Today over who has the best athletic department. Mr. William Reese, you've done a fantastic job with the Lake Orion Athletic Department and keep doing great things. Also, congratulations, Lake Orion Athletic Department, finishing third place in the USA Today national poll for athletic departments.
And the best in the state of Michigan.
And also the best athletic department in the state of Michigan, according to USA Today. Congratulations, Lake Orion Athletics.
All righty.
All right, that will do it for this week's episode of Between Taorminas. Ian will be back next week, and stay tuned for future episodes here on Between Taorminas on ONTV.